There's an earlier version of this video that I really hope nobody saw because it was absolutely awful. It's the same thing I'm going to discuss here, but it was taken downtown New Westminster. The video quality isn't any good, and there's so much wind noise that you can hardly hear it. So I'm sorry about that, if that happened. So what I was discussing was the fact that, the really obvious fact that using, what was it, the doctrine of discovery, I think it is, that they're complaining about all these days. And what the document of discovery did, like in the 1500s, was tell European people that they could go and dominate other people, and it was justified essentially because they had been given permission by God. And that's not an unfamiliar tactic. If you want people to go out and rape and pillage, not all of them are going to be completely okay with that. And so you have to demonize the other people and essentially say that they don't have the same relationship with God that you do, and so that you can really despise them and dominate them. And I don't think that there's been an empire on earth that didn't exist on that level sometimes, although it may not have been explicitly religious. Europeans, and never written down so well and expounded upon for decades, and all of that, just ridiculous how detailed we were in our documenting our crimes. That's from about the 14th, 15th century, and it essentially gave religious justification for claiming territory. That'd be one way to put it. And so what nobody seems to have noticed is that if you go to the Assembly of First Nations, they have a constitution, and they've essentially done exactly the same thing. They've said that, but theirs is a little bit different because they've said that God put them on this territory, and it therefore belongs to them. So it's a religious justification for ownership. It's the same dynamic, which I think is a bit ironic that that's been staring us in the face the whole time, and nobody seems to have noticed that, right? And so some people might say, well, yeah, that's because we didn't. The Aboriginal people would say, yeah, but we didn't take over half the world using it, right? Which is true. I don't think there's ever a good time to deny what's true, and that is true. But what they have done is made an ownership claim based in part on race, and that's been given a religious justification for their ownership of basically all of Canada, in a way, right? So just how likely it is that any of them think that they're really going to overtake the land, that's another story. Most Aboriginal people are reasonable, but I'm just talking about the philosophy that underlays it. Just look at the Assembly of First Nations Constitution, and the first 4 or 5 entries are all religious, essentially claiming that they are the original inhabitants. They were put there by God, and that gives them a right to the entire territory. So they didn't have to do battle with any other entity except the ones that existed in Canada. Most people really have to, if you look at every country in the world, a lot of, maybe all, I don't know, but most territory is conquered with a significant bloodshed, right? Like, in fact, the colonization of Canada was probably one of the most gentle colonizations in the history of the world. And, no good deed goes unpunished. And here we are. So that's essentially the things that I was laying out earlier, that I was talking about earlier. If you look at No Expectation of a Critical Lecture at Simon Fraser University, you'll see that I made an attempt at these arguments before that was ill-fated. But it's a nice video. I'd watch that one. It's good. Okay, so that's the main thing. I think I spoke a bit about the time that I spent with people from either formerly or presently dictatorial governments, and had it explained to me that the totalitarian moves that this government makes are the totalitarian movements that I'm sorry about the stuttering, but yeah, I mean, it's a playlist. There's certain things you do. You demonize, you divide everybody up, you limit freedom of expression. Most dictators intimidate the press. This one has bought them out more, but that's a sort of intimidation as well. You don't respect things like, what's that called, when the government isn't supposed to interfere with the judiciary, judicial independence. There's a whole list of things that they violate. I mean, okay, so I was explaining that I really studied this for a while. So can I think of another thing? I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. I can't think of anything right now. Okay, call me shell-shocked. Anyway, that was the basic deal. Thank you.